Hello class 8. Today we will continue with the last portion of the chapter, the circulatory system in human beings. So today we will deal with the blood groups and blood transfusion. So before we go to the blood group, I just want to tell you what blood transfusion is. Sometimes due to some reasons, or maybe some injury, or maybe surgery, or maybe due to some illness, there is a loss of blood in the patient. So, to cover up with the blood that has been lost, the donor will transfer the blood to the patient. So, this process by which the blood is transferred from one healthy person to the patient or to the another person is called the blood transfusion. However, blood cannot be transferred without matching the blood group. So the donor and the recipient must have the same blood group. Depending on the presence of proteins called the antigens, a special type of protein is found in the surface of the red blood cells, that is known as the antigen, and the one which is present in the plasma, the blood plasma, is known as the antibodies. So, depending upon the presence of the proteins called antigens and antibodies in the human blood, it is classified into four groups. The blood group is classified into four blood groups, and Rh positive and Rh negative. So, we'll come to that later. The rhesus factor, we call it, positive and the negative, we'll come to that later. But for now, we will talk about the blood groups. So, there are four types of blood groups, depending upon the antigen and the antibodies. Okay, the antigen is a protein present in the surface of the red blood cells, and antibodies are those protein which is present in the blood plasma. So there are two types of antigens, A and B, and two types of antibodies as well, again A and B. So both the antibodies and the antigens are of two types, A and B. Based on the presence or the absence of the specific antigens, the human body is classified into four groups. So there are four groups of blood, which is A, B, AB, and O. The blood group A has antigen A and antibody B. Blood group B has the antigen B but the antibody A. We have opposite antibodies. Blood group AB has both the antigens but no antibodies, whereas blood group O has neither the antigen A nor B but both the antibodies A and B, as we can see here. Blood group A will have antigen A but antibody B. Blood group B will have antigen B but antibody A. Alright? Blood group AB now will have both the antigen A as well as B but no antibody. There is no antibody whatsoever in the blood group AB. Similarly, we have the last blood group, that is O, will have antigen. There will not be any antigen. No antigen is present in blood group O, but we have both the antibodies A and B. Now, antigen A and antibody A are incompatible. That means they are not supposed to be mixed together. Otherwise, the blood will start clumping together. So similarly, antigen B and antibody B. If there is antibody A, antigen A and antibody A, like over here as we have it in blood group A and B. Antigen A and antigen A together, if they come together, the blood will start clumping. Similarly, B and the antibody, antigen B and antibody B. If the same kind of antigen and antibody comes together, the blood will start clumping together. So therefore, we do not transfuse the blood. So the antigens and the antibodies work against each other. When the blood containing the opposite antigens is transferred into the body of a person, the antibodies of the recipient will attack the donated blood and cause clumping. This may cause blood infection and even death. So we make sure that a certain blood group do not have the same antigen and the antibody. So if they come together, same antibody and antigen come together, then what will happen? The blood will start clumping, and it might cause blood infection and even death. So therefore, blood transfusion is done very carefully by matching the blood group of the donor as well as the recipient. The blood group O is called the universal donor. It is called the blood group O is the universal donor, since it can give blood to any of the blood, a person having any of the blood group. Blood group AB is called the universal recipient, since it can receive blood from a person with any blood group. So let us look at the table, and I'll explain. Like blood group A can donate the blood to A and AB and receive the blood. Those person with blood group A can receive the blood from A and O. Similarly, blood group B, we can go to the next blood group B, can donate the blood to B, the person having the blood group B or the blood group AB, and can receive the blood from the person which has blood group B and O. Blood group AB can donate the blood only to a person whose blood group is AB, but can receive the blood from any of the blood groups A, B, AB and O. And the last blood group O, the person having the blood group O can donate the blood to anybody, because the person who has blood group O is a universal donor. So he can or she can donate blood to the blood groups A, B, O and AB, but can receive the blood only from blood group O. So I hope I'm clear with it now. We go to the next topic now. We'll talk about the rhesus factor. The rhesus factor, Rh positive and Rh negative. It was first discovered in a rhesus monkey, a monkey called rhesus monkey. So another antigen, and you know very well that antigen is a protein which is found in the surface of the red blood cells. So another protein called the Rh factor is found on the surface of the red blood cells. It was first discovered in a rhesus monkey. About 85% of the people have the rhesus factor, and they are said to be Rh positive. We call it Rh positive, and the 15% of the people do not have it, the rhesus factor. They do not have the rhesus factor, and such people are called the people having Rh negative. Okay, the one which has Rh positive, has rhesus factor, is called Rh positive, and those who do not, just 15% of them, that is Rh negative or the rhesus negative. So before blood transfusion, the blood groups of donors and recipients, as well as their Rh factor, has to be matched. Not only the blood group, but also the Rh factor, the rhesus factor, is to be matched to prevent clumping of red blood cells. So we call it A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, and so on. So this is actually the rhesus factor. So an Rh negative person can donate a blood to Rh positive person of compatible blood group, but not receive the blood from Rh positive person. So the last portion we deal today is the lymphatic system. Now, what is a lymph? So lymph is derived from the Latin word lympha. It is derived from the Latin word lympha, which means water. So the basic function is it returns the fluid the tissue will have fluid all over the body. So these fluids has to come down to the main circulatory system. And who does the work? It is the lymph that does the work. The lymph also acts as a soldier. It is concerned with the defense mechanism. It is concerned with the defense mechanism of the body. Now how? I'll let you know. In addition to the circulatory system, your body also has the lymphatic system that transports the liquid, which is called the lymph, throughout the body. Lymph is a fluid that contains infection-fighting white blood cells. So lymph is nothing but a watery medium, a watery substance in the body, a fluid which contains the infection-fighting white blood cells. When the body reaches the capillaries, some of the water and the dissolved solutes are filtered out from the plasma into the tissue spaces to form the tissue fluid called the lymph. Some of this lymph enters the tiny channels called the lymph vessels. So the lymph moves in your body through tiny vessels called the lymph vessels. Basically, lymph has all the elements of the blood except red blood cells. It does not have red blood cells and it does not have blood platelets. So therefore, it is not red in color. Blood is red in color because of the red blood cells which contains hemoglobin. But over here, the lymph, since it does not have the red blood cells, so therefore it is slightly yellowish in color and contains a special type of white blood cells called lymphocytes. Lymph contains a special type of white blood cells called lymphocytes, which help in fighting the infections, the disease-causing germs a body might ingest. So the lymphatic system consists of not only the lymphocytes, but the lymphocyte, it also consists of certain vessels through which the lymph passes, like the veins and the arteries. But it has a very, very thin wall, and it is called the lymph vessel. It also contains the lymph nodes as well. So the lymphatic system consists of number 1, the lymph vessel, and number 2, the lymph nodes. The lymph vessel resembles the veins due to their very thin walls it has, and it also contains valves. The lymph nodes are small globular masses of lymphatic tissue. So if I want to give you an example of a lymph node, you must have heard about tonsils. At the back in the throat, we have tonsils. So tonsils are nothing but lymph nodes. They are nothing but what? Lymph nodes located on the either sides and the back of the back of the throat. What does it do? They help in preventing body from infection. So any infectious germs or whatever gets into the body, the tonsils will now trap it and destroy it. That is the lymph node. So you might well know now what a lymph node is. So what is the function? It acts as a defense mechanism. Yeah. So the functions of the lymph. The main functions of the limbs are number 1, transportation, number 2, defense, and number 3, drainage. So we'll talk a little bit about it elaborately. Number 1, transportation. The lymph helps in transporting nutrients and hormones to the body cells. So what does it transport? It transports the nutrients, the food, and the hormones. It is also it's helpful in removing waste materials from the body cells to the tissues and finally pours them into the veins. So it not only transports the nutrients and hormones, it also transports unnecessary, unwanted, removes waste materials from the body. Now, the next function, important function of the lymphatic system is, or the functions of the lymph is transportation, number one, and number two is defense. A lymph carries lymphocytes and antibodies. Lymphocytes and antibodies. Now, we talked about the lymphocytes. It is the special type of white blood cells which is found in the lymph. That is known as lymphocytes. And it also contains antibodies. Like, for example, mother's milk is very, very important for the newborn baby, isn't it? So why does the doctor encourages the mothers, the new mothers, to feed to suckle their young ones, means to give milk to the babies? Why? Because mother's milk have antibodies which fight against the infections and makes the baby healthy. Okay? So, and that is antibodies. So lymphocytes not only contains lymphocytes. Lymph not only contains lymphocytes but also antibodies which which destroys the harmful microorganisms and foreign particles in the body and brings them to the lymph nodes where it is destroyed. So the lymphocytes, the special white blood cells which is found in the lymph, and the antibodies, they bring the disease causing organism to the lymph nodes, and in the lymph nodes it is destroyed. All these harmful microorganisms and the foreign particles are destroyed in the lymph nodes. And a very good example of a lymph node is, as I already told you, the tonsils. Yeah. And the last function with which we end the chapter now, the last function important function of the lymph is the drainage. The lymph drains excess tissue fluids from the intercellular spaces back to the blood. So we have a lot of fluid in the intercellular spaces or between the tissues, a lot of fluid. So they have nowhere else to go. So the lymph will drain the excess fluid from the intercellular spaces back to the blood. Tissue fluid is a fluid which surrounds the cells of most tissues, arriving through the blood capillaries. So all the tissue fluids and the fluids which is found in the intercellular spaces has to be drained, and this is done by the lymph, and it is drained into the main circulatory system of the body. So with this, we come to the end of the chapter, the circulatory system of human beings. So I hope you've understood the chapter. So in the next offline class, I will be posting all the notes on this chapter. So thank you very much for watching.